Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep on Jim Rohn's plan for greatness.
And from what I've seen, he really delivers.
I think it's safe to say anyone tuning into this deep dive is probably interested in self-improvement, right? And maybe reaching financial success.
For sure. Those are big themes in Ron's work.
Yeah, so for anyone who might not be familiar with him, Jim Rohn was like this motivational speaking giant. He had a huge impact on the personal development world.
And his story is pretty amazing too, right? From Idaho farm boy to a millionaire by the time he was 31.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, he really walked the walk, didn't he?
Totally. And it wasn't just luck. He had this mentor early on, a guy named Mr. Shaw, who was already super wealthy.
Right, like the classic mentor figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Shaw basically took Ron under his wing and showed him a whole new way of thinking about success.
Which is a great example of how powerful mentorship can be.
Right.
Like having someone who's already achieved what you want can totally accelerate your progress.
It's like having a shortcut to success almost. Like instead of stumbling around in the dark, you've got someone to guide you.
Exactly. And Ron talks a lot about how much he learned from Mr. Shaw, especially in those early years.
Yeah, he really credits him with changing his whole trajectory. And one of the key things Mr. Shaw told him, which kind of became Ron's central message, was this idea that if you will change, everything will change for you.
Such a powerful quote, right? It shifts the focus from external circumstances to internal transformation.
Totally. It's like saying, don't wait for the world to change. Change yourself and the world will follow.
Exactly. And that's so much more empowering, right? Because it puts you in the driver's seat.
It does.
Yeah.
It puts the power back in your hands. And what's really cool is that Ron doesn't just leave it at that. He actually breaks it down into 3 concrete areas to focus on.
Yeah. Oh, right. He talks about personal development, setting goals, and achieving financial independence.
Right, like 3 pillars of a successful life almost. So personal development first. I guess that makes sense. You got to start with yourself, right?
Yeah, that's the foundation.
Yeah.
And Ron really emphasizes the idea of becoming more valuable.
Okay, how do you do that? Like in a practical sense.
Well, he has this great quote, "We get paid for the value we bring to the marketplace."
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the more value you bring, the more you can potentially earn.
Exactly. And he talks about how to increase your value through continuous learning.
Okay, so like always be learning new skills, right?
Yeah. And improving your communication skills, becoming an expert in your field.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart.
Yeah.
And strategically becoming more valuable.
Exactly. And he tells this great story about getting a really lucrative consulting offer later in his career. And he links it directly back to all the work he put into his personal growth. Like, he didn't just wish for success. He became the kind of person who could command those high-level opportunities.
That's a good point. It's like you got to become the person who deserves the success you're aiming for.
Right. You got to level up.
Level up, exactly. So how does he say you actually go about this personal growth? Like, where do you start?
Well, he talks about learning from multiple sources, like from your own personal experience, for one.
Okay, so like reflecting on your past, both the successes and the failures.
Exactly. Learning from your mistakes. And then he says you got to learn from other people's experiences too, right? Like by observing successful people, reading books, listening to podcasts.
Like we're doing right now.
Exactly. And he even mentions specific books that had a big impact on him, like Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, that's a classic. What's that one about again?
It's all about the power of belief and setting clear goals. One principle that really stands out is the idea of autosuggestion, basically using affirmations to kind of reprogram your subconscious mind.
Oh, interesting. Like rewiring your brain for success.
Yeah, kind of like that. And he also mentions The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Which is all about financial wisdom and building wealth.
So he was really into reading and learning from the greats, huh?
Totally. He was a big believer in the power of knowledge. And then he talks about journaling too, right? Like actually writing down your thoughts and insights.
Yeah, to capture those aha moments and refer back to them later.
Exactly. It's like creating your own personal encyclopedia of wisdom.
I like that. Your own wisdom encyclopedia.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like Ron was all about being proactive with your learning, right? Not just waiting for things to come to you, but actively seeking out knowledge and experiences.
Absolutely. And he really stresses the importance of reflecting on what you learn, making it meaningful, and integrating it into your life.
So it's not just about consuming information. It's about actually applying it and making it your own.
Exactly, making it work for you.
So I'm curious, thinking about your own learning journey, how intentional are you about seeking out new knowledge and perspectives?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I think I do a pretty good job. I'm always reading, listening to podcasts, trying to stay curious.
Yeah, same here. But I think there's always room for improvement, right? Like maybe we could be more deliberate about seeking out diverse perspectives, challenging our own assumptions.
That's a good point. It's easy to get stuck in your own bubble.
Totally. So how about you? Do you have any go-to methods for learning and growth besides, being a podcast fanatic, obviously?
Absolutely. Well, aside from being a total podcast nerd, I'm a big fan of mentorship. Like we were talking about earlier, having someone who can offer guidance and support can make a world of difference.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. It's like having a personal cheerleader and a coach all rolled into one.
Right. And of course, good old-fashioned reading never goes out of style.
True that. I think that's something we can both agree on.
Mm.
There's just something about getting lost in a good book.
Yeah, totally. And it seems like Ron felt the same way. He put a lot of emphasis on finding mentors and learning from those who had already achieved what he was aspiring to.
Yeah, he really believed in the power of modeling success, didn't he? Like, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Exactly. And it doesn't even have to be a formal mentorship, right? You can learn from anyone who has knowledge or experience that you value. It could be a colleague, a friend, even a family member.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes the best mentors are the people who are already in our lives.
Yeah.
We just got to be open to learning from them.
Exactly. And that brings us to Ron's next key to success.
Yeah.
Goal setting. He's all about having a clear vision for the future.
Oh, yeah. He talks a lot about that, doesn't he? Like really defining what you want and where you're headed.
Right. And he emphasizes approaching it with anticipation, not apprehension. Like getting excited about what's to come.
Oh, I love that distinction. Anticipation versus apprehension. It's like choosing to focus on the possibilities instead of the fears.
Exactly. And he outlines this really simple but powerful process for setting goals.
Oh, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So first, you decide exactly what you want, no matter how big or small.
Okay, so get crystal clear on your vision.
Right. Then write it down. Don't just keep it in your head. Put it on paper.
Make it real tangible.
Exactly. And then, this is cool, he says, to keep your old goal lists.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
So you can track your progress and see how your aspirations have changed over time. Plus, it's kind of fun to look back and see what you've achieved.
Yeah, that's true. It's like a visual reminder of how far you've come.
Right. And it can be really motivating.
I bet. So it's not just about setting goals and forgetting about them. It's about reviewing them regularly, celebrating your wins.
Exactly. And using them as a tool for growth.
That makes sense. So it sounds like goal setting is a pretty big deal in Ron's philosophy.
Oh, totally. He sees it as essential for creating the life you want. And he makes this really interesting point about the value of ambitious goals.
Ambitious goals.
Yeah.
Like goals that really push you outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. He says that those are the goals that force you to grow and discover your true potential.
So it's not just about achieving the goal itself. It's about who you become in the process.
Exactly. And he uses his own experience of setting the goal to become a millionaire as an example.
Oh, yeah. What does he say about that?
He says that the real value wasn't in the money itself, but in the person he became in order to achieve it.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
So it's like the journey is just as important as the destination.
Exactly. It's about the skills you develop, the lessons you learn, the personal transformation that takes place along the way.
Okay, I'm really starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
It's not just about achieving external success. It's about inner growth and becoming the best version of yourself.
Totally. And that brings us to the final key to success in Ron's plan, financial independence.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people. What exactly does he mean by financial independence? Is it just about being rich?
Well, he defines it as the ability to live from the income of your own personal resources. So it's about having control over your finances.
Okay, so not being dependent on a job or someone else for your income.
Exactly. And it's not necessarily about being rich in the traditional sense, but about having the freedom to make choices.
Like not being trapped by debt or limited by financial constraints.
Right. It's about having options and security.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of people crave that feeling of financial freedom, but they're not sure how to get there.
And Ron lays out this pretty simple but powerful formula for achieving it.
Oh, okay. Lay it on me. What's the secret sauce?
So he says you should aim to spend no more than 70% of your income.
Okay, that's the budgeting part.
Right. Then he says to allocate 10% to charity or giving back.
Oh, interesting. So generosity is part of the equation.
Totally. It's about making a difference and contributing to something bigger than yourself.
I like that. Okay, so we're at 80%. What about the other 20%?
He says to use 10% for active capital and 10% for passive capital.
Wait, hold on. Active and passive capital, what's the difference?
Okay, so active capital is when you're directly involved in managing your investments, like buying and selling stocks, starting a business, things like that.
Oh, okay, so it's more hands-on.
Exactly. While passive capital is more about letting your money work for you.
Like what kinds of things?
Things like investing in index funds, real estate rentals, even high-yield savings accounts.
So it's less about actively managing your money and more about setting it up to grow over time.
Exactly. And Ron is a big believer in the power of passive income, especially through this thing called compound interest.
Compound interest. I feel like I've heard that term before, but I'm not sure I totally get it.
It's basically earning interest on your interest.
That sounds kind of complicated.
Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but as it gathers more snow, or in this case, interest, it grows exponentially over time.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
So the longer you let your money compound, the more it grows.
Exactly. And that's why starting early with investing is so important. Even small contributions can add up to big results over time.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the time factor is really working in your favor.
Totally. And Ron has these really engaging anecdotes about teaching kids about financial literacy that actually make a lot of sense for adults, too.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
He tells this story about the broken wagon, where he encourages kids to find something broken, fix it up, and sell it for a profit.
Oh, that's a clever way to teach about entrepreneurship.
Right. It's about creating value and seeing opportunities.
And it's something anyone can do, regardless of their age.
Exactly. Like, what skills could you polish up and sell for a higher value? Or what broken system in your life could you fix for a better return?
Wow, that's a great way to think about it. It's not just about kids selling lemonade. It's about applying that entrepreneurial mindset to all areas of life.
Exactly. And he also talks about the importance of understanding taxes, like not seeing them as a burden, but as a contribution to the system.
That's an interesting perspective.
He even jokes about writing a book called Of Course Kids Should Pay Taxes.
That's awesome. He had a great sense of humor, didn't he?
He did, but he also had a really wise way of looking at things. It's not about complaining about taxes. It's about understanding their role.
Yeah, and seeing them as an investment in our collective well-being.
Exactly. It's about shifting your mindset from negative to positive.
So it sounds like Ron's plan for greatness is about a lot more than just achieving material success.
Oh, absolutely. It's about personal growth, contribution, and becoming a better version of yourself.
Yeah, it's like a holistic approach to life, right? It's about integrating these principles into everything you do.
Exactly. And what I appreciate is that it's not about following a rigid set of rules. It's about taking these core principles and applying them to your own unique circumstances.
That's so important, right? Because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to success. What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and creating your own unique path to greatness.
I love that. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Personal development, goal setting, financial independence. What's really standing out to you so far?
For me, it's Ron's emphasis on taking ownership of your life. It's not about waiting for things to happen. It's about making choices and taking action.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's about being proactive and creating your own reality.
And he also highlights the importance of continuous learning, right? From both your own experiences and the wisdom of others.
Absolutely. Always be a student of life.
And finally, that financial piece. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about building a solid foundation through smart spending, saving, and investing.
It's about having a long-term vision and making choices that support your financial well-being.
Exactly. It's about playing the long game.
I like that. Okay, so we've got the foundation now. I'm really curious to dive deeper into some of the specifics. Like, what strategies does Ron recommend for personal growth? How do we set truly effective goals? And what are some practical steps we can take to achieve financial independence?
Oh, and now it's time to roll up our sleeves and dig into the specifics, starting with personal development.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready to get tactical.
Yeah.
So where do we begin? What specific strategies does Ron recommend for actually growing as a person?
Well, he's a big advocate for continuous learning. And he doesn't just mean formal education. He talks about reading, going to seminars, surrounding yourself with people who challenge you.
Yeah, like constantly expanding your horizon.
Exactly. And not just passively absorbing information, but actively engaging with it, you know?
Okay, so how do you do that?
He talks about the importance of self-reflection, like taking time to think about your experiences, both good and bad, and figuring out what you can learn from them.
Yeah, like turning those experiences into wisdom.
Exactly. And he talks about developing a personal philosophy, like a set of guiding principles that help you make decisions and navigate life.
A personal philosophy.
Hmm.
That sounds kind of deep. Like, how do you even go about creating one?
He suggests reading books on philosophy, talking to people you admire, and just spending some time reflecting on your own values and beliefs.
So it's about figuring out what really matters to you, what you stand for.
Exactly. And then using those principles as a compass to guide your actions.
I like that. It's like creating your own personal code of conduct.
Right. And he also talks about identifying your strengths and focusing on developing those.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Like playing to your natural talents.
Exactly. He says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
That's a powerful quote. So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart and focusing your energy where it makes the biggest impact.
Totally. And he believes that everyone has unique strengths and talents that they can bring to the world.
It's about figuring out what those are and then honing them.
Exactly. And then he goes on to talk about the importance of setting clear, specific goals.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Goals are crucial, right? But I think a lot of people struggle with actually setting effective goals.
And Ron gives some really practical advice on how to do it right. He talks about breaking big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps.
So it's less overwhelming that way, right? You're not just staring at this massive mountain. You're taking it one step at a time.
Exactly. And he's a big believer in writing your goals down, not just keeping them in your head.
Oh, yeah, he talks about that a lot, doesn't he? Like putting pen to paper and making it real.
Right. He says it helps you clarify your thoughts and stay focused.
He also suggests keeping your old goal lists.
Yeah. So you can look back and see how far you've come, track your progress, and celebrate your wins.
Oh, I like that. It's like a visual reminder of your journey.
Totally. And it can be really motivating to see how much you've achieved.
Yeah, I bet. So it's not just about setting goals and forgetting about them. It's about actively engaging with them, tracking your progress, and making adjustments along the way.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process.
Okay, so we've got the goal setting part down. But what about when things get tough? Like, how does Ron deal with the inevitable challenges and setbacks that come with pursuing big goals?
He definitely emphasizes the importance of a positive attitude, but he also acknowledges that challenges are a part of life. He talks about the importance of perseverance and resilience, like not giving up when things get hard.
Yeah, you got to have grit, right?
Totally. And he also stresses the importance of learning from your mistakes, like not seeing failure as a sign that you should quit, but as an opportunity to learn and grow.
It's like, okay, that didn't work. What can I do differently next time?
Exactly. It's all about having a growth mindset, you know.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Like believing that you can always learn and improve.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that core message from Ron. If you will change, everything will change for you. It's about taking responsibility for your own growth and development.
Yeah, it's like saying, don't wait for the world to change. Change yourself first.
And that's where personal development really comes into play. It's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve their goals, who can overcome challenges, who can create the life they want.
So it's not just about achieving external success. It's about inner transformation as well.
Exactly. It's about becoming the best version of yourself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Continuous learning, developing a personal philosophy, setting clear goals, building positive habits, embracing challenges. It's a pretty comprehensive approach to personal development.
It really is. And what's so great about Ron's philosophy is that it's timeless. These principles are just as relevant today as they were when he first started talking about them.
And they're applicable to anyone, regardless of their background or their goals.
Totally. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about taking these core principles and adapting them to your own unique circumstances.
Okay, so we've got the big picture of personal development down. Now I'm really curious to hear more about Ron's specific advice on goal setting. Like, how do we set goals that are truly effective? Goals that inspire us and propel us forward?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll get into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll uncover Ron's secrets for creating goals that work.
Awesome. I can't wait. So until next time, maybe you could think about what area of personal development you'd like to focus on, and I'll do the same.
Sounds good to me. I'm looking forward to it.
Guess we're back, ready to tackle the last piece of Jim Rohn's plan for greatness: goal setting.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, personal development, financial independence.
But now it's time to get into those goals, those big, audacious goals.
And you picked the right guy for that. Ron was all about aiming high, creating a vision for your future, but he also knew that it's not enough to just dream big.
Right. You got to actually do something about it.
Exactly. So he gives us this framework for setting goals that are both inspiring and, actually achievable.
Okay, so how do you do that? Like, where do you even start?
He talks about these 5 key qualities of a good goal: specificity, measurability, attainability, relevance, and time-bound.
That sounds familiar. Is that the SMART goals thing I've heard about?
I got it. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Oh, okay. I knew I'd heard that somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about saying, I want to be successful.
Right. It's about getting super clear on what that actually means for you. So like instead of I want to be successful, you'd say I want to launch a new online course this year and make X amount of dollars from it.
Exactly. That's a much more specific, measurable, and time-bound goal. It gives you something to actually work toward.
Yeah, it's like a target you can aim for.
Yeah. So what about the achievable and relevant parts? How do those fit in?
Well, Ron is all about setting ambitious goals, but he also says you got to make sure they're realistic.
So you're not setting yourself up for failure from the start.
Right. And they got to be relevant to your values, to your overall vision for your life. Like they should feel meaningful to you.
So it's not just about chasing someone else's definition of success. It's about figuring out what truly matters to you.
Exactly. And then he talks about the importance of writing those goals down.
Oh, yeah, he's big on that, isn't he? Like actually putting pen to paper.
Totally. He says it helps to clarify your thoughts and solidify your commitment.
And he also recommends keeping your old goal lists.
Right. So you can look back and see how far you've come, see how your goals have evolved. Oh, that's a good idea. It's like creating a visual representation of your journey.
Yeah. And it can be super motivating, too.
Yeah, I bet. So it's not just about setting the goals. It's about revisiting them, tracking your progress, celebrating your wins.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process.
That makes sense. So what about when things get tough? Like when we hit those inevitable roadblocks and setbacks?
Ron definitely emphasizes the importance of having a positive attitude, but he also acknowledges that challenges are a part of the journey.
You can't just wish them away.
Right. So he talks about perseverance, resilience, the willingness to learn from your mistakes.
So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about embracing it as a learning opportunity.
Exactly. He sees failure as a stepping stone to success.
Yeah. You either win or you learn, right?
That's a great way to put it. And that ties into having a growth mindset, which Ron is a big advocate for.
Okay, remind me, what's a growth mindset again?
It's the belief that your abilities can be developed, that you're not stuck with a fixed set of talents.
So instead of seeing setbacks as proof that you're not good enough, you see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. And that brings us back to Ron's central message, which is that if you will change, everything will change for you.
So it's about taking responsibility for your own growth and success.
Right. And that's where personal development and goal setting really come together. It's not just about achieving a specific outcome, but about the journey of transformation that happens along the way.
Yeah, it's about becoming the best version of yourself.
Exactly. And then using those skills, that mindset, to create the life you want. And remember, it's not just about material success.
Right. It's about living a life of purpose and meaning.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot where your passions and talents meet the needs of the world.
And making a positive impact along the way.
And that brings us back to that powerful closing question from Ron. Why not now?
Oh, yeah, he loves that one. Like, what are you waiting for?
Exactly. It's a call to action, a reminder that we have the power to create our own future starting today.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Jim Rohn's plan for greatness, what's one action step you're going to take to put these principles into practice?
That's a good one. I think I'm going to go back and revisit my goals, make sure they're still aligned with my vision and, make any adjustments I need to.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think I'm going to focus on creating a more intentional morning routine, something that sets me up for success each day.
I love that. Small changes can make a big difference.
Totally. And that's the beauty of Ron's message. It's not about overnight transformations. It's about committing to continuous growth and improvement.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress one step at a time.
So true. Well, that about wraps it up for our deep dive into Jim Rohn's plan for greatness. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you found this valuable and inspiring.
And remember, the journey to greatness starts with a single step. So take that step today and see where it leads you.